In the last video, I briefly mentioned that I'm not all the way convinced by Amorim's 3-4-3 system. I'll put my hand up and say a part of that is due to a reluctance to moving away from the traditional 4 at the back. Growing up watching United, Sir Alex would normally play a 4-4-2 or occasionally a 4-3-3, but the game has evolved drastically since then. And while post-Fergie we primarily stayed tried and true with some variation of a 4 at the back, only Louis van Gaal and now Amarim have brought something different. We all know that Amorim's system relies on athleticism, quick ball progression, aggressive and decisive running, top decision making, good technique, and proper positioning. And honestly, these are all attributes that can be found in world-class players and teams across Europe. But United have a lot of players who have fragments of these attributes instead of being proficient in all of them. I think that was evident last season, where a lot of times our poor decision making, poor positioning, and really poor finishing let us down. But in the midst of that, I saw good signs, good fighting spirit, and good passages of play that for a top team would 9 times out of 10 end up in a goal, but for us, we would squander. That's why I think Amorim can address these issues during preseason and as we start to get up to full match fitness, drilling instructions into the players' heads and engaging in repetitions to force bad habits out and bring consistency back in. So I did some digging. I wanted to take a look at some of the best and worst performances under Amorim that we had last season, just in the Premier League alone. For this, of course, I'm taking into account the level of opposition. I'm also taking into account the final result, but I wanted to make sure I factored in our injury concerns because, as you see in the video, there's certain players that are instrumental to the way that we play and build up. And of course, as the fixture list got more and more congested, some of those lineups towards the end of the season started to look very spooky. Now look, before we start the video, I know we must sign players, and the board needs to be more proactive in backing the manager, not just in this transfer window, but in subsequent transfer windows. But guys, this is the situation we are in right now. This is the circumstances and the cards we've been dealt. We have to do what we can with the squad that we have at this current moment. The transfer window is still open, guys. It's only July. We still have about a month and a half until the transfer window closes. So things can happen at a rapid pace. Things can change. Our circumstances can change. We're waiting on outgoings first to be able to bring in more players, which is frustrating because the players that we're waiting to leave aren't really wanted by many clubs because of their salary, because of their ego, because of their attitude. But eventually these players will get moved on. And when that happens, United have to be proactive. I just want you to keep that in mind for this video because this video is based upon our current circumstances, what I'm seeing right now with the squad that we have right now. So just wanted, to keep that in mind, and let's get into the video. So guys, I wanted to start this analysis with the Manchester derby, Ruben Amorim's first Manchester derby. The biggest game he had taken on since he had joined Manchester United from Sporting. And of course, when he was at Sporting prior to this, he had already beaten City in the Champions League. Different set of circumstances, different group of players, different mentality, and different stakes were on the line. Let's just get that one clear. So going into this game, I wanted to obviously highlight some of our good moments, but our bad moments. I want to be fair and obvious because we didn't have a good season last season. And it's down to situations and errors like this one. So this is an issue that predates Ruben Amorim. It actually goes far back as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Erik ten Hag, where players are always caught ball watching. We've conceded so many goals from cutbacks where players are just not aware of the players, of the opposition players in behind them. One look over your shoulder and you should be able to see that there's somebody there. But as I play this clip, these guys are still ball watching. This is Dalot and this is Højlund. They're still ball watching. Gavardio, who eventually scores, is wide open. If I creep in a little bit more, he's still open and they're still ball watching. And you already know what happens after this. He scores because they're both watching the ball and they're both trying to head the ball away, but they're so far away from Gavardio. They're not even reading the flight of the ball correctly. And this is such a schoolboy error. These are things that you go through when you're in elementary or you're in high school or you're in college or, for these guys when they're in the youth setup, in the youth programs. But for some reason, these grown men, they don't even decide to help Masraoui out because Masraoui is in between both Haaland and Gavardio. Masraoui is what, 5'10", 6 foot at the max? And these guys are tall. Much better jumping reach than him. And as you see, he scores. So it's simple things like that that are frustrating, that frustrate the United fans a lot. This is a situation where United were on the front foot. They were taking the game to City because they had to. And this is the aggression that Ruben Amorim wants to see, the fight and determination that he wants to see. So Masraoui wins the ball back from Doku. He's on the ball. He's aggressive. He's trying to do something with the ball. Gets it into Højlund, and in this position, you would expect the roles to be reversed. You would expect Bruno to be on the ball and Højlund to be running in behind. But this is a great situation and an example that even the top teams can make the silly mistakes as well. Because Ruben Dias and Kyle Walker are tracking back. They're trying to stop Rasmus Højlund from getting further up the pitch. They're completely disregarding this run from Bruno. From this point, literally Bruno just runs in a straight line. He runs in a straight line. And they're still ball watching. They're still waiting to see what Højlund does. And Højlund plays a brilliant pass in behind through to Bruno Fernandes. But unfortunately, Bruno goes through and he can't score from a position like this, which has to change next season. If we want to beat, not even just the big teams, if we want to beat the small teams, the quote-unquote small teams, we have to be scoring from these positions. I mean, that's poor from Bruno Fernandes. I don't think anybody can disagree. This was the sequence for our winning goal. Brilliant sequence, in my opinion, because it's one of those situations, once again, where Lisandro's on the ball and everybody's body language is kind of negative. Like, all right, we're just going to play out to a 1-1 draw if that's okay with you. No. Lisandro Martinez is such a great playmaker from the center of defense, which is why we really need somebody like him. He's so pivotal to our buildup. And I think that, don't get me wrong, I don't like Luke Shaw. I really think Luke Shaw should leave the club and we should invest in somebody new. But we're dealing with what we have. And in a situation like this, I really believe Luke Shaw could play a similar ball. He has that in his locker. He's a great crosser of the ball when he's fit. And I think he can play a ball like this. But Lisandro Martinez gets the ball. Once again, it's still everybody's body language is a little negative. Everybody's waiting to see what happens. But in a split second, boom, Amad Diallo starts to make that run. And what did I say? As soon as he goes from stop to start, it's just, you can't stop it. He starts to make that run, and Lisandro Martinez recognizes this. Great awareness from Amad to check his run and to bend it, not to just run straight offside, and give Martinez the time. You see him pointing to give Martinez the time to play that ball towards him. And as he does, the City defenders are just caught out. They really can't do much about this. The ball is so perfectly placed in between the center of the center backs that Amad Diallo has no choice but to go ahead and slot this one home. So it's brilliant play by Manchester United we're seeing. And this was early on in Amorim's time at United when the team hadn't fully gelled. So you can see the signs there. It's great. It's progressive. This is a situation where we should have scored. And it's frustrating because we had chance upon chance. But this is good play by Manchester United. So Dalot is isolated on the wing. It's another situation where Bournemouth feel as if they're set. There's not really much movement going on from the Manchester United players. But as soon as Diogo Dalot cuts in, guess who, once again, makes an attempt to run into the space? It's Amad Diallo, who as soon as he decides that Diogo Dalot is in a good position to lay the ball off, boom, he makes the run into that left space that we can really exploit next season from a lot of teams. A lot of teams won't see this coming, in my opinion. And we can exploit this space tremendously. So as Dalot gets the ball into Amad, he has many options here. He can either face up his defender, cut in on his left and try and put it into the top corner. He can go down the right-hand side and try and whip the ball in. But he does the right thing here, which is draw defenders. So Dalot, I don't know if you guys noticed that, but Dalot draws defenders out of position. He's taking the Bournemouth defender with him to create the space because Tyler Adams is ball watching. And Bruno Fernandes is left on an island. And this is a situation where Bruno, he has to finish. I mean, simply put, once again, we have to finish these chances. If teams are giving us chances like this and we're not finishing, it's our fault. Now, this is Bournemouth's second goal. And this just is another quick explanation of why the ball watching needs to go. We need to drill that into the players to be able to identify danger before it even happens. In this situation, Bruno Fernandes is tracking back. I mean, he shouldn't even be in this position, but he's tracking back against Utara. I feel like Lenny Yoro showed a bit of his inexperience here, just because he should recognize the danger that is behind him in this space. If he's not going to go to this ball, which he shouldn't, then he should already be running back. But look, he's not. He's just flat-footed. Extremely flat-footed. And all it takes is one ball to completely take us out of the game. And then Harry Maguire, Lisandro Martinez, they're at fault here because they're ball watching. Nobody's sensing the threat of Semenyo, and it's just an easy cutback for Semenyo to score. So these are the areas where United has to improve. We can't keep going. We can't go into the new season with these type of schoolboy errors. Otherwise, we're gonna get spanked. But I think if Ruben Amorim can drill this into his players' heads, it'll be a different circumstance. This is a situation, and this clip and the next clip I want to show you is a situation where I think the relationship between Højlund and Garnacho really affected our goal-scoring opportunities in the entire season. Højlund plays an excellent ball through to Garnacho, and in this situation, you would expect Garnacho to go through and score. I mean, he's through on goal. He has the beating of his man. None of these guys are getting back. Kepa is not even in the best position to try and save this. All Garnacho has to do is pick a corner. That's all he has to do. That's all he has to do. And he hits it straight at Kepa. I mean, of course Kepa's going to have a good game if he's getting shots like that. And that is the problem with Garnacho. And in the next clip, I'll show you exactly what I mean between the trust. Now, before I do, this is a great example of why I think Bruno can operate in the 8. A lot of fans saying that he doesn't have the physicality, he doesn't have it. Bruno Fernandes is a clever player. In terms of turning into space, in terms of beating his man with a clever touch, Bruno Fernandes is one of the best players in the Premier League to do it. Look at this ball and look at this touch that he takes. It's a positive touch. It's going away from his goal and he's going towards the Bournemouth goal. And he completely takes Tyler Adams out of the game. Completely. And now this is where I wanted to talk about Garnacho and Højlund. You know, for all the good that Bruno Fernandes does here, the ball gets to Højlund. Oh my gosh, this frustrated me so much. This frustrated me so much. The ball gets to Højlund. 100% of the time, the right thing to do is pass the ball to Garnacho. You have to pass the ball to Garnacho. I mean, you're a fool if you don't 9 times out of 10. And I'm only saying that because you have to have confidence in football. You have to have good decision making in football in order for things to go your way. 9 times out of 10, if Højlund has confidence and trust, not only in himself, but in Garnacho, he's making this pass. And Garnacho has more options than Højlund does from this position. Garnacho can either take the ball in his stride and shoot with his left, or Højlund and Amarim will keep making their run, and Garnacho will play a cutback and we will score. But Højlund, for some reason, doesn't trust Garnacho after the previous misses. And obviously, I don't blame him. Throughout the entire season, there were times where Garnacho should have passed the ball to Højlund, but he was selfish and he didn't pass. And this affected their relationship. This broke their relationship. These guys didn't like each other after a while. And guys, there's a reason why Amarim decided to let go of Garnacho and not Højlund. There's a reason. I'm not saying that one is better than the other technically. I'm not even talking about their ability. I'm talking strictly attitude and mentality. There's a reason why, because so many times Garnacho just let his teammates down. But in this situation, Højlund let us down, because taking a shot like this is not in his game. Højlund is more of a fox in the box type of profile, somebody who operates in and around the penalty area and the 6-yard box. He's not a long-range shooter. That's never been in his game. He's been excellent when he's running at defenders in the box or when he's being a typical poacher, you know? So that was a frustrating moment and one I don't want to see next season again. If that's Matheus Cunha, you know Cunha is demanding the ball. And Rasmus Højlund will give it to him because he knows Cunha 9 times out of 10 will either finish or get an assist. Now this was the game against Liverpool where everybody was shocked at how United played. We were in a bad run of form at this point and nobody expected us to come out and try and take the game to Liverpool. At this point, we had weathered an early storm. Liverpool were dominant at the start of the game. Onana was making excellent saves. Our defense was staying strong. And this is the good part about Lisandro Martinez and even Rasmus Højlund, exploiting the space that's left them behind. Liverpool are, once again, in a false sense of security. They think they have everything covered. And I'll show you a better angle here. At this point, they think that they have everything covered. But Lisandro Martinez is able to, let me go back a little bit. Lisandro Martinez is able to identify the space left them behind by Liverpool trying to push up. You can see here that Van Dijk is trying to tell his guys to get up the field. And Trent Alexander-Arnold is slacking behind. So it's good awareness from Lisandro Martinez, good vision, but it's also good running from Rasmus Højlund. And look at the acres of space that Liverpool leave us because they're trying to squeeze us in the middle of the pitch. They're not trying to give us time on the ball. And that gives Højlund so much time and space. And it's another situation where, you know, it's difficult because if you want to be a top striker in this league, you have to finish chances like this. But it's also tough because Alisson is one of the best keepers in the league. So 50-50, you know, for me, when I was watching this game live, at first I was frustrated because I'm like, Højlund, come on, dude, you have to score that. But then I realized, you know what? It's Alisson. Alisson is a good keeper. Højlund wasn't in the best of form at this point. Form, confidence, they all matter in this game. They really do matter. It's not just about your ability. It's about how well you can take the ball in stride and how confident you can hit the ball into the back of the net. And here, Højlund just doesn't really His body language doesn't really tell me that he's confident that he's going to score. And this is a situation, once again, where Manchester United is good in terms of finding space that normally we wouldn't if a team was playing a low block. I mean, this game is a little bit more expensive. Even at 2-1, Liverpool isn't necessarily trying to sit back. They're still trying to go forward and score more. Bruno Fernandes in the 8 position at this point. This is why I say he's going to be good in that position. Just because he demands respect. 2 players are instantly drawn towards him, which gives Garnacho acres of space. And Bruno Fernandes plays such a beautifully weighted ball to send Garnacho through. And not just that, but it forces Konate into a situation where now he has to face up Garnacho. But Konate gives Garnacho way too much space. Way too much space. Way too much respect. Way too much respect. I don't know if they were expecting Garnacho to cut back in like he normally does because Jota was coming back to try and stop this. But Garnacho does the right thing here. He takes the ball into his left and he puts a ball into the box. Just put a ball into the box and see what happens. And Amad Diallo is the one who ends up scoring for United. And this is something that we lacked a lot of last season. In those situations, 9 times out of 10, Garnacho isn't doing that. Garnacho most of the time is just trying to be his own player. He's trying to be, he's trying to take his own glory. But in a situation like that, we needed poise. We needed just a simple get the ball down the line, put it into the box, and see what happens. And it worked against a team like Liverpool. I mean, look at the frustration on the Liverpool faces. They're frustrated. They're disappointed because it was a simple goal they conceded. But these are the types of simple goals that we can score. Now, from this point on, I'm going to be brief with some of my points. I'm just going to show you 1 or 2 clips here and there. This is an example of Manchester United winning the ball high up, up the field, getting the ball back from Newcastle, putting them under pressure, and quickly springing into a counter. Tempo is important for this team. Tempo is important for this structure because we can't play slow. We need to be quick and dynamic, and that's exactly what we do. From this point that Christian Eriksen gets the ball, it doesn't seem like there's too much going on. But Eriksen turns, he's positive, he's looking for Bruno Fernandes. The ball comes into Bruno, and there's only really one option here for Bruno, to play it into Xerxes. Otherwise, Bruno's going to have to do some magic on his own. But look at the interplay. Bam, bam, bam. That's what we need from Manchester United. We can do that on a weekly basis. We can do that on a weekly basis. With the technique that Xerxes possesses, the technique that Bruno possesses, the technique that Amad possesses, and now we're going to have Cunha and potentially Mbuemo. I mean, this is positivity. This is looking good. We have players now who are more of a threat on the offense. We can take a little bit of pressure off of Bruno Fernandes to always create. This was Newcastle's first goal. And this just identifies the issues that we had. And thankfully, one of these players is not at the club anymore. But look at the defending for Manchester United. It looks like everything is set. Like I said, everything is looking good. Players are marked correctly. There's not much danger here. But for some reason, Victor Lindelof leaves like a bus size gap between him and Isak. And this is his international teammate. He knows how deadly Isak is. But for some reason, he leaves this huge space. And by this point, Lindelof can't recover. He just can't. Even though the ball pops up for Isak. So Isak had way more time than he really did if he had a better touch. But this touch set him up. And Lenny Yoro, because Lindelof is so out of position, Lenny Yoro gets attracted to the ball. It's basically impossible to stop this goal. And Tonali with just a brilliant finish. So there's still negatives, guys. I'm not trying to be super positive and act like, this is all great and dandy. There's still negatives. There's still moments in time where we ball watch, where we are not paying attention. We're not aware. And these are things that need to be ironed out if we want to be successful in this league. Now, guys, this is my last point. I want to just end on the Aston Villa game because this is an Aston Villa team that needed to win this game to have any hopes of trying to make Champions League football. It's not like they were content with the result and content with the place. They had to win this game if they wanted Champions League. So we outplayed them for majority of this game. I know the incident between Bayindir and Morgan Rogers was controversial, but nobody can deny that we deserve to win the game. This is what Amarim can do. With Mazraoui on the ball in this position, they've created a triangle unbeknownst unknowingly to Aston Villa. And it's just quick play. It's 1-2, quick passing. Boom, boom, boom. We're in. Now we've created a situation where Aston Villa are on the back foot, and all it required was a little bit more composure in the situation. Mazraoui getting it back to Amad. First thought you think he's going to shoot, the way he set up his body language, the way he's approaching the ball. But it's brilliant because he realizes and recognizes that Bruno is still in space, and it's a situation where it's a difficult chance, but it's still a good opportunity for us to score. I really believe that with less games, we're not in Europe, Ruben Amorim on a week-by-week basis can take these things into account, can really iron out the mistakes without having the added pressure of having to play another game and potentially suffer another setback. Because with every game that we lose, it's more and more pressure being mounted on him and the players. This is no excuse. These are professionals. Don't get me wrong. They have to perform because they're getting paid to do so. But I really do think that this season, Ruben Amorim can figure out his best 11. He can figure out which players work best in the system. And especially with new signings potentially coming in, it just elevates our game. Mateus Cunha in a lot of these clips is a lot smarter than Garnacho. The clip against Bournemouth where he's one-on-one, 9 times out of 10, Cunha will finish that. Or if that's Mbuemo, 9 times out of 10, Mbuemo will finish that. Mbuemo is a smart player who brings his teammates into the game. Cunha is a smart player who takes the opposition players out of the game to create space for his teammates. So things are looking up. I just want to be positive and look at the things that Man United can fix. And I know that Ruben Amorim is working on these things in preseason training. Let me know what you guys think. This was a different type of video. And I just wanted to do something different. I wanted to make sure that I'm aware of the good and the bad. And I wanted to make sure that you guys see that there is good. There are positive signs. There are positive passages of play. We can create with this formation. The next step that we have to take is shoring up our midfield and shoring up our defense. Removing the schoolboy errors is key, and making sure that we finish is even more important. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. It really means a lot to me, and I hope you guys enjoyed a video like this. Let me know if this is something you want to see. Don't mind doing these types of videos because I really get to look at the team in a different capacity than if I'm just watching the game as a fan. I get to see the runs that the players make, the intent, the body language that they have. So let me know what you guys want to see in the future. And thank you so much for watching. And as always, God bless and have a wonderful day.